Hi guys, welcome to a new video. So in this video, I'm finally getting around to continuing the series that I started on my channel of basically explaining the differences between the sun and the moon on each side of the zodiac. So I did pre-record these videos from Leo to Sagittarius, but I basically lost all the recordings when I reset my phone's data to get it repaired. So I had to redo all the videos again, so I'm actually going to upload the Leo video, which I've redone, later today before this one goes up. So yeah, but this is Virgo, obviously. So differences between Virgo Sun and Moon. So again, just like the Moon and the Sun in general, the Sun is like the outward representation of you. It's your personality and your self-identity, more obvious to other people, but not as deeply felt internally, because basically what it is it's more so what you want to come across as, or what personality you want to develop during your lifetime and the life lessons that you have to learn in this lifetime. Your moon, on the other hand, is much more internal. It's more your actual personality deep down at your core of your personality. But you do not show it to others. It's not expressive. The moon is an inwardly tugging energy, and the sun is outwardly reaching. So you do not show your moon off to just anyone. They have to be incredibly close to you for you to even start showing the traits of your moon off. And also, it represents kind of your subconscious mind, and the sun's your conscious, like rational, logical mind. So also, you're not even necessarily consciously aware of your moon because it is so private, reserved, that sort of vibe. Also, the moon is closer to the true representation of the sign's energy. As far as the traits associated with each sign, it's closest to the moon, because the sun, it's a boisterous planet, it rules Leo, so it's quite an intense energy on its own, therefore it modifies the energy of the sign itself more significantly when it's transiting it, than the moon does. The moon is more low-key and mellow energy on its own, so when it combines with the sign it's transiting, it doesn't edit the energy of the sign as much, so it is more true and more of a pure representation of the sign's energy. It resembles the traits of the sign more closely, I would say, than the sun would in the same sign transit. So yeah, anyway, so Virgo. So real world differences of how you can tell the difference between the Virgo Sun and the Virgo Moon. So obviously, as I did just say, the Virgo Sun will be more obvious. I've noticed the Virgo Sun is naturally modest because Virgo is a modest sign, but also in the Sun position, they're actually a bit more boisterous. And they almost have quite a heavy aura. They have quite a strong presence about them. When they walk into the room, you kind of notice them. Um, they don't want to draw attention to themselves like Leo, though. They're actually opposite to Leo in the sense that Virgo does not like all the attention to be on them, so similar to Cancer, actually. So they never do anything to try to get the attention, but they kind of just naturally get it, because when they walk into the room, they do actually have quite a strong imposing presence about them, and they can come off as a bit intimidating. I think also because they're strongly rooted to the earth. Obviously, they are the mutable earth sign, but they're also quite detached at the same time, and somewhat reserved and shy, because they are, ruled by Mercury, which is a fast-moving but entirely logical planet, almost entirely logical planet with not much emotional capacity. So that's kind of how they come across, but they do kind of have a bit of an imposing presence, and even a bit of an intimidating presence when they want to be. The Virgo Sun kind of has that. The Virgo Moon is definitely more like true to the actual sign's traits that you would naturally associate with Virgo. The Virgo Moon is a lot more insecure than the Virgo Sun, although they will obviously do a much better job at hiding this, even from themselves. A real world difference, I could say, is that the Virgo Sun will be more aggressive in their desire to criticize and poke holes in things. Like, we all know that Virgo has the reputation of being, the critical sign, and the judgmental sign, which to a degree is true. But the Virgo Sun will be more aggressive about this. They will be more aggressive about, they'll be more honest and open about the fact that they will critique you, whereas the Virgo Moon will never show this, but I think the Virgo Moon is probably more critical and judgmental than the Virgo Sun, but you just won't notice it. Like they will keep their thoughts of like critiquing you inside. They won't actually voice their opinions, but inside they'll just be like, talking to themselves like, oh, being super critical, like why did they do that? Why did they do that? But they just wouldn't say it. The Virgo Sun is quite aggressive and open about the fact that they will tell you all of the opinions and criticisms that they have on you. The Virgo Sun, as I say, because it's the Sun, their ego is tied up with behaving like a typical Virgo. So the Sun in all the signs does do this when it transits them. It kind of wants to behave consciously like the sign. So all of the traits of the sign, it naturally adopts them and shows them off when it's the Sun, because they do get an ego boost, and this is how they form their self-identity, basically, when it's their Sun. So the Virgo Sun person is like consciously, acting like a Virgo. They're trying to develop these traits and incorporate them more and more throughout their life and evolve. Like their life path is adopting these Virgo traits. Like, that forms their self-identity in this lifetime. So they are going to also behave this way because it makes them feel good when they do, because will have satisfied their Sun. So if you think along those lines, obviously then it's natural that they're going to want to somewhat play up these traits more than the Moon, because they feel good when they do so. The Moon, as I say, it's subconscious, so you might feel emotionally fulfilled when you behave this way, but you're not going to get like an ego boost. You won't feel good about yourself in that more conscious way. Virgo Moon is a lot more shy. They're a lot more timid and reserved. As I say, the Virgo Sun can actually be quite upfront. The Virgo Sun, though, is a lot more blunt than the Virgo Moon. I think the Virgo Moon, honestly, is more respectful. They're a bit more considerate of other people's feelings. They're a bit more in tune with their own. The Virgo Moon, because it is the Moon, the Virgo Moon is a lot more emotional than the Virgo Sun as well. So another difference is that the Virgo Sun will be a bit more tactless, whereas the Virgo Moon will be a bit smoother in their presentation. Like, even when they're criticising you, they're going to be kind of giving the impression that they're offering these fixes up more like suggestions. They're going to present them more like suggestions in a more gentle way. Like, oh, I'm just suggesting maybe you should do it this way next time. The Virgo Sun's going to be more blunt about their critique. They're going to be like, this is what you did wrong. Next time you need to do it this way in order to improve. And they're more like that. Another difference, I think, is that the Sun and Moon in general, the Moon can't help but exhibit the full force of its sign because it's truly that sign. It just exists as the sign, whereas the Sun, because it's striving to actively be that sign and become that sign, it's not necessarily actually feeling like that sign all the time. It has to develop these traits consciously and behave that way. So the Moon is the feeling and the Sun is the doing, or the wanting to look like that sort of way. So that's another difference, is that the Moon will just feel that way naturally. They won't need to try and develop these traits of the sign. They'll just naturally have them and feel them. So yeah, that is another difference. So basically, as an example, we know Virgo can have the reputation of being a sign which is a bit boring, a bit dry, a bit serious, struggle to let loose, workaholic, this sort of vibe. But as I say, the Virgo Moon is more like those traits at their core. But again, the Virgo Sun is going to appear to be more this way because they're, again, wearing this dynamic in their personality and not in their subconscious mind. So, for an example, if you see a Virgo Sun at work, for example, or in any professional situation, that is when they are going to act like a complete typical Virgo down to a T. They're going to be critiquing you if they need to. They're going to look very professional. Obviously, they're very detail orientated, so they're going to be very discriminating, logical, insightful about practical matters. They're going to be behaving like the typical Virgo traits down to a T. At work or any professional situation, because again, they're striving to behave this way, to behave like a Virgo. However, if you meet them when they're not at work, maybe, for example, they're on a night out, they will find it easier to let their hair down than the Virgo Moon would do in the same situation. They're going to be more able to go with the flow more. Like, when they need to be serious because of the situation, like work, for example, they will down to a T fit these Virgo traits because, as I say, they want to act this way. But They will find it easier to have fun and let their hair down. Say if they're on a night out with close friends, they're going to have fun. They're going to be a lot less uptight than they would normally be as a Virgo. They're going to, be more chilled out, more fun loving. They'll let their hair down more easily. The Virgo Moon will struggle more to be fun and embrace letting their hair down. And it's not that they don't feel comfortable with whoever they're going out with. Just take this specific example. It's just that even if they do, they cannot let their hair down because they do, in a deeper internal part of their personality, carry these Virgo traits of being, quite logical, a little bit serious and reserved. So they can't just have fun and let their hair down and, enjoy the night as easily as the sun, because the sun is kind of acting in a way. And the moon is just feeling, the moon is just being and existing as its sign. That's the key word. So in this example I'm giving, the Virgo moon is going to struggle more. They're going to have to work more hard to appear carefree and light and let their hair down and have fun, because they're a lot more self-restrained and reserved, like on a deeper level, and the sun just appears to be this way on a more shallow level. So the Virgo sun will find it easier to let their hair down if they don't need to act serious, say they're not at work anymore, and they can just relax more and be less strict on themselves, less, reserved. When they can do that, they will do that, whereas the moon will struggle to do that more so. Also, obviously, the moon, it colours everything towards a more emotional note, and also the moon it kind of strengthens the traits of the sign. So that goes for both the positive traits of the sign and the typical negative traits of the sign. So Virgo moon is going to be more logical, more detail orientated, more discriminating, but also they're going to be more modest, but they're also going to be more critical. They're also going to be more uptight, as I say, struggle more to have fun. They're going to be a lot more self-critical as well. They're not just critical more of other people, they're going to be very self-critical. Although again, as I say, they won't show this openly like the Virgo Sun. So the Virgo Moon is more critical of self and others, but they're less open about showing it, definitely. But I would say they're more. But Virgo Moon especially, I think they're more insecure and self-critical rather than critical of other people. They are critical of other people like the Sun, but I think the Virgo Moon is more likely to be very self-critical and insecure. The Virgo Sun also, they're quite confident in a way, whereas they're modest and grounded, but they are and humble, but they are quite confident at the same time. They have this manner of confidence and strong presence about them, like I said at the start of the video. But the Virgo Moon is quite insecure. It's very shy. That's a good key word, I would think. For Virgo, they're quite shy. They're quite reserved and skittish in a way, like similar to Cancer. Again, they don't like to have all the attention on them. But the Virgo Sun actually has quite a confident manner to them. They strive quite confidently. They have this presence to them. Virgo Moon though is also a harder worker, more like a typical Virgo in that way. They are more modest. They're more humble. They're more grounded. The Virgo Moon is more grounded than the Virgo Sun, slightly. But the Virgo Moon also is more restless and more changeable. The Virgo Sun can kind of restrain that a little bit more, but the Virgo Moon, because it truly is these traits, it's more restless. It's more like it has a deeper need to change the scenery frequently. It can't accept staying the same as easily as the Sun. That's another thing. Virgo traits, but at the same time, a confident exterior, feeling a bit more comfortable in their own skin is more likely a Virgo Sun, especially if they're more open about all the traits. The Virgo Moon is more sort of insecure. They struggle a little bit with being overly serious at times, struggling to have fun and let their hair down. But the Virgo Moon is more modest. They're a harder worker. They are more grounded, more down to earth. Is there anything else I need to say about Virgo? Obviously they're ruled by Mercury, so they are quite restless, but again, the moon does have this to a stronger degree than the sun. I think as far as which planet's more comfortable in the Virgo sign, both are actually neutral placements for the sun and the moon, but I guess maybe the moon would be a little bit more comfortable in Virgo than the sun, because the sun obviously rules Leo, so it's a bit more comfortable with fire. So obviously Leo and Virgo are signs that are really, really different from each other. So in that way, I would probably assume that the Sun is going to wear the Virgo sign a bit more awkwardly. Maybe that's why they're a bit more abrupt as well in their presentation. Um, Whereas the Virgo Moon, they're both like quite introverted characters, so maybe that would work together better. Also, the Earth will ground the Moon because the Moon is typically a water planet. So yeah, that's that. But yeah, guys, thank you for listening. I think I got out everything that I wanted to say in this video. It's not one of my longest ones, but I assume that's fine. Anyway, yeah, I can always revisit this at a later date if I come up with anything later on that I didn't include the first time. But yeah, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.